Y'all, it's looking like the canceled podcast is coming to an end, which obviously a lot of people on the internet are like speculating things because they're like, oh, there must be some type of beef between Brooke and Tana. Tana is going on this whole, like, I would say, well, I don't want to say like publicity tour, but like she's going over to several different podcasts and talking about it on different platforms that she's just kind of like evolving as a person and she just doesn't want to do the canceled podcast anymore. And she is really eager for the end of the canceled podcast. She is saying that, hey, maybe in the future, they may step back into it, but as of right now, for her mental health, for her mental space, that she, or mental space, mental peace, that she needs to end this podcast, which I gotta keep it real with you guys. I don't know why. Like, honestly, I really enjoyed the podcast. Y'all know that I say it time and time again when it comes down to people like Tana. I really do like them. I really like people like her because, look, I'm gonna keep it with you guys. There's a lot of people on the internet who are so scared to be themselves and be authentic and, you know, hold true to their opinions and sometimes have controversial opinions. And obviously, look, the truth of the matter is everybody in life is going to go through ups and downs. They're obviously going to say some, you know, hot takes or some wrong things or some controversial things, some offensive things, like whatever the case may be. People are going to obviously be that way. I hate, and this is why me, for example, like I literally have always said, like on the internet, like I don't ever want to be holier than thou. When people make a mistake, I'll be like, hey, I hope they learn, change, and grow from that. Because I feel like a really good chunk of the internet, people of the internet, act so holier than thou. And I don't like that shit because I'm like, oh my God, y'all, we have all said some fucked up shit. We have all made some mistakes in life. So to see people like go through a cancellation or whatever, like Tana has many, many times, I get frustrated when I see people like bashing her and things like, oh my God, she's an evil person. It's like, you act like you haven't made a mistake. You act like you haven't said something wrong. Do you know what I mean? Like things like that really trigger me because I'm like, oh my God, we are not perfect. Like we are not educated on everything. Also, too, I feel like a sense of humor, like I have come to really realize in life, a sense of humor is a very like tricky topic with some people because what I may find hilarious, you may find as like the most like, you know, offensive thing in the world. And that's where I'm just like, whoa, obviously, you know, that's why we all have our like favorite content creators and we have our favorite podcasts and our favorite comedians and things like that because obviously we all have different sense of humor and things like that. And I'm like with Tana, I'm like, damn, low-key, I'm kind of sad that the podcast is coming to an end, but everybody is speculating right now that some beef is going down between Brooke and Tana because apparently they see, you know, things differently and maybe they're good friends, but then they just don't really work well together. They recently went on a tour around the world, which I guess was a very successful live podcast tour, but I guess they did have some beef and they like introduced this as Jorts Gate because it all like started from some jorts, which y'all, I'm gonna be so for real with you guys. I literally didn't even know what jorts were. Like I was like, what's a jort? Like I literally had to look that up. I was like, oh, didn't know it was jorts. But anyway, so obviously from that whole entire thing and being that it did blow up, especially on TikTok, y'all, oh my gosh, like when they released like a little clip of like their little Jorts Gate thing, it blew up because everyone was like, oh my gosh, like not them literally full on beefing over some jorts. Obviously, yes, it wasn't because of the jorts, it was because of other reasons, but that was just the thing that was mentioned the most, you know what I mean? So obviously after that, people are finding it a little bit peculiar that now they're saying that the podcast is going to be coming to an end. I do want to say this though, because I do feel like Tana kind of stressed, like she's not saying that it's permanently coming to an end, but at least for now, because she is saying that they've evolved as people. Here's my thing on it, y'all. Oh my gosh, if I were to start a podcast at Tana's age, which I want to say right now, like, what is she, like 26 or 27? She's still pretty young. You know what I'm saying? I'm 35 years old. If I were to start a podcast right now at 35, I am so sure that I'm going to evolve with my thoughts, my opinions, my sense of humor, my jokes within the next, you know, 5 or 6 years or however many years they've been doing the podcast. I am so sure of it. But this is where I get a little bit confused about like that being her main point of like, you know, wanting to cancel the podcast is because she's evolving as a person. Because I'm like, whenever you watch somebody on YouTube, like let's just say like a popular YouTuber, Tana, even perfect, for example, look at her very first videos to see how like messy and problematic she was. And then she has totally grown as a human because she's grown up. She's obviously had life experiences. She went through so many different situations in life. So I don't really understand why that would be the cancellation of the canceled podcast because I'm like, like normally you would just evolve the podcast, which actually I do want to go ahead and play a clip. Actually, you know what? I'll go ahead and start off with this clip right here to where she is on Logan Paul. I literally always want to say the Paul brothers. I'm gonna be so for with you guys. Like I literally don't know which one's Logan and I don't know which one's Jake, but I'm pretty sure looking at this now that Logan is the one that does the wrestling, Jake is the one that does the boxing. So I think that she was on the what's the name of their podcast? Oh my god. You know what's so crazy? I've watched quite a few episodes too, and I literally don't know the name of their podcast. But anyways, Logan Paul's podcast, and she was opening up a little bit about it. And this guy that's on the podcast with Logan was even saying like, well, why don't you just evolve the show? You know what I mean? And that's honestly, that was my first reaction too. I'm like, here you are talking about like all evolving and all this. I'm like, girl, let's just go ahead and keep it real. Maybe there's some beef here. And honestly, maybe they just don't work good together. You know what I'm saying? I do got to keep it real. I have like worked with several of my friends, and some of my like best friends, I'm like, love them to death. Wouldn't want to work with them because I have a different work ethic or style than they do. Do you know what I'm saying? And I do think that that could bring a lot of, you know, issues into a friendship. So maybe that's the real reason why. And I think that maybe she thinks it sounds nicer to the public to say, oh, I'm just evolving as a person, when it's like realistically, maybe she just doesn't like working with Brooke. I don't know, because I'm just kind of like, okay, what is it all of a sudden now? And I don't know. Anyways, check out this first clip right here.
Canceled is not happening anymore?
I mean, I'm not saying that I like it would be done forever. You know what I mean? Like I do really enjoy it, but it's just interesting. Like the girls that we were when we started that show were like quite literally like sucking behind a dumpster. You know what I mean?
Now it's now it's in really nice bedrooms.
Yeah. My desire to comment on pop culture and be in the shrapnel every week, and you know what I mean, just show up every week contractually and fucking tear people apart in a lot of ways. You know what I mean? I've just become such a different person.
So why not? So why not? Question on that note. So why not okay? Why not evolve the show, right? Like, for example, like for us, we've shed 47 layers of skin throughout the course of this 8-year extravaganza, but we evolved together and we evolved the show. So I'm not, we don't have to go super deep on it, but just curious as to why you guys don't just evolve the content.
I guess we could just evolve the content, but it still is like, there's only so much you can evolve, I think, our show. Like I would still have to be in LA every week, and we would still have to show up. And just also like creatively, I think that her and I both have sometimes different visions. Like we always talk about the fact that as friends, amazing, but getting us to always agree on everything business-wise and stuff is difficult. And like, I love her to death, but I could just see a world where we both had our own things that were very different. And then we had the agency and the leisure to cross over when we want, because we still have that great chemistry. And you know what I mean? Like almost nurture our friendship first and just evolve in different ways that still allow us to continue to be friends, and just it's not a contractual obligation to show up on that couch every week and talk about Hailey Bieber's apple.
Yeah,
you know,
and that's a very important topic these days.
I think that guy has really good points right there. Like, why not evolve the show? Obviously, your audience is growing with you too, and that's where my whole mindset was, honestly, when she first was like saying, you know, the announcement of the cancellation of Canceled. It's just kind of like, girl, like, because you're evolving as a person, your audience is evolving also too. Like, if you start a YouTube channel and your demographic is your age, they grow up with you. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, it's so crazy. Like, if people were to watch my old videos of me, like freaking, you know, 9 years ago when I started up on social media, shit, damn near 10 years ago, obviously you're going to see a different person. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, if you're not growing, then something ain't right. Because if you start YouTube at 20 years old and then you're doing YouTube up until you're 50 and you're the same person, something's wrong. Something's really wrong. So that's why I was just kind of like, I love Tana. I love her. But I really do think like she's trying so hard to, you know, make sure that she's being prim and proper and make sure that she's not creating any drama. Because I do think at the end of the day, I think that her and Brooke, this is just my opinion, okay? I think that they may have some differences. I really do, which is totally fine. Like, obviously, at the end of the day, when it comes down to things like, you know, you're going to have some differences. Shit, look at me and my podcast. Like, damn, that shit was going good, and then it went up in flames, y'all. Like, it went up in flames. So I understand, like, things happen. Obviously, friendships have falling out, but I didn't know that they were actually contractually obligated to do the podcast. I guess they signed a contract with a, you know, third-party site or management team or production company. I thought that this was all, you know, ran by Tana. So this was like my first time of like her saying, or me hearing her say that, oh, like, I hope this contract comes to an end fast because I'm so over it, which I'm just kind of like, damn, like, why are you so eager for it to end? And, you know, I do want to throw this out there too, because I do think that she is leaving the door open for the Canceled podcast. I think that she obviously knows that, hey, maybe in the future I may need to get back up into podcasting because, you know, obviously she's making a good chunk of change, let's just say, of that, or from that. Also, speaking of which, okay, we've talked about Brianna Chickenfry sometimes on my channel, and she got out there on her BFF's podcast, and she said that she thinks that they hate each other. And I'm like, I don't necessarily know if they like hate each other, but I do think that there's more to the story when it comes down to Brooke and Tana, because I'm kind of like, this just seems so abrupt. And then it's like right after the Jorts Gate situation. So I'm just kind of like, wait, this seems a little peculiar on the timing. Do you know what I'm saying? Being that I'm like, y'all had this big ass like blow up fight that got millions and millions of views, and then now it's coming to an end and you're so eager for it to end. I don't think they hate each other, because I really do think like at the end of the day, like, oh damn, like, how are you gonna follow through with these episodes if you're contractually obligated with somebody that you hate? Like, I feel like Tana would be the type of person to be like, no, like, I'll pay out. You know what I mean? I'll pay out of this contract, whatever the case may be, because I just couldn't see her sitting there with Brooke and faking the funk for however many episodes they have left. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know. Anyways, let me go ahead and play this clip right here so you guys can hear from Brianna.
I don't know about them, but anytime I ever saw a clip about the canceled podcast, or it seemed like it was mostly love.
Well, I think they genuinely do hate each other. Like, they don't seem like they actually like each other outside of having, I mean, they don't even seem like they like each other on the podcast.
Damn. Okay, I don't really watch a lot of the podcasts. You know, I get a clip here and there.
I mean, I do only see clips, but it is them always disagreeing.
I feel like that's a hot take right there of her saying she feels like they don't even like each other on the podcast. I gotta keep it real with you guys. Like, I do feel like, okay, I'm gonna be real with you guys. I never really clicked, I feel like, watching Brooke. I love Tana. I think Tana's so hilarious. I feel like she's so carefree. I feel like she's very opinionated. Sometimes I think that Brooke may be kind of like an overthinker, and I feel like she's, I don't know. I don't want, because I know that like calculated has a very like negative connotation to it now, but I feel like she's kind of calculated with the things that she says and that she does. And I do know that she went through a cancellation herself for saying some things in the past, and I totally get how you may feel like you're walking on eggshells now because you don't want to be perceived as this person that you were when you made these tweets. I totally get that. However, at the end of the day, like, when you get up on the internet, you really do need to have that mindset of like, screw everybody. My opinion is my opinion. This is it. You know what I mean? So I could see how she would think that they have some differences, but I don't think that they like hate each other. Do you know what I mean? I do feel like they do have two totally different personalities, but I do want to go ahead and play one last little clip right here. So actually that you guys, I probably should have started off with this clip. That way you guys can actually hear from Tana to where she is, you know, addressing the potential end. Well, it's for sure ending for now. I should say temporary. She's addressing the temporary end of the canceled podcast. Check it out.
Yeah, I can't sit here and say that when this contract is up toward the end of this year, that canceled is for a fact ending forever. Because, like, listen, like, a year could go by or 2 years could go by, and if people really wanted it back or we missed doing it, like, I would be so down to Backstreet Boys it up and like reunion. But I think that for both of our mental health, I just feel a little stagnant in my peace era because I'm still holding on to this like unpeaceful, and obviously by contract. And like, I'm getting in this place where I'm like really awaiting the ending of this contract for my peace, like realizing that this is the final outlier in my peace era. Which is so unfortunate because when we started it, well, we weren't peaceful when we started it, I guess. You know what I mean? Like, just, that's what it is. It's like starting this thing as chaotic ass individuals down for the smoke, f***ing up our own life. Barney's beanerying it up. Pool boy, the house down. Yeah. And now we're in this era where like both of us are so peaceful.
There, y'all heard her say it right there. And I don't know, I gotta keep it real. I'm low-key a little bit sad. I kind of wish, does this sound rude to say? I kind of wish that maybe she like did the podcast with somebody else. Do you know what I mean? Like, maybe found another friend, one who probably has the same work ethic as her, the same mindset as her. You know what I mean? Which, I got to keep it real. I'm only saying that because obviously people are saying that they're totally different. Me personally, I would love to obviously have a podcast with like my friend who we have the same sense of humor, of course. But then also too, I do think it is nice to have, you know, somebody who's a little bit different, because then you get to have more in-depth conversations. Because when you're friends with somebody who just like agree about everything, like, I don't know, like, I feel like, okay, we just agree on everything. Whoa, you know what I mean? This is why I always say, and a lot of y'all think that I'm actually crazy for saying this, but I really do believe this. I think disagreements are very healthy. I think disagreements are very good. I think disagreements, when they're normal civil disagreements, I feel like they are so healthy for the brain, because they really do get people thinking and they really do get people conversing more in depth. So that's why I'm kind of like in between. Like, yes, of course, like, you know, if y'all watched my podcast before, oh my gosh, I was super close with my co-host, screw her now, but I was like very close with her, and I was like, oh damn, like we have the same mindset, we have the same sense of humor, so it kind of flowed. But then also too, I'm like, maybe moving forward, maybe I should have a co-host who is, you know, a little bit different, you know what I mean? Anyways, I don't know, I do have to say this, low-key, I'm kind of sad. I hope that she does pursue another podcast. I know that she has the one going with Trish. I'm gonna be honest with you guys though, I've watched it a couple times. I don't know why I love Trisha and I love Tana, but I don't know why, to me I was just kind of like, it was a little boring to me. Maybe I got to get into some more episodes, because honestly I want to say I've only watched like 1.5, and I was just kind of like, okay, that's a little boring. Anyways, make sure you guys let me know your thoughts and opinions about everything. I will catch you guys in the next one. Peace out, Girl Scout.